Welcome back, my dear friend. Sometimes, in the middle of life's storms, it feels as if the world has turned cold, as if kindness has vanished beneath the roar of wind and rain. We see people rushing to save themselves, doors shut, hearts closed, and we begin to wonder, has humanity disappeared? But somewhere out there, even in the darkest night, a small light still flickers, perhaps from the courage of one person or the tenderness of one fragile act. Today's story takes us to a coastal city in southern China, a place battered by endless typhoons and rising tides. There, amid the chaos and fear, a young man who had lost faith in people witnessed something that would change the way he saw the world forever. This is the story of the man who saved a cat in the storm, a reminder that sometimes hope doesn't roar, it whispers. The city had been drowning for days. Rain fell without pause, like a curtain of gray silk separating people from one another. Streets turned into rivers. Neon lights flickered and died. Inside every apartment, people stayed silent behind locked doors, clutching their own safety like a fragile treasure. The young man stood by his window, staring at the storm outside. His face was pale in the dim light. His eyes, once full of curiosity, now carried only exhaustion. He had stopped believing in people, in their promises, their kindness, their sincerity. After years of betrayal and disappointment, he had built invisible walls around his heart, just like the sandbags people stacked along the flooded streets. Down below, the wind screamed through narrow alleys, lifting torn posters, rattling broken signs. A cat's faint cry was swallowed by thunder, but he didn't notice. Not yet. All he saw was a city that seemed to have lost its soul. The news said the typhoon would last another night. He sighed, closed the window, and told himself that tomorrow would be just another gray day. But before turning away, he caught sight of something. An old man crossing the flooded street, his frail body bent under the weight of the wind, holding a thin bamboo stick for balance. At that moment, the young man didn't yet know that this ordinary sight would become the symbol that would awaken something long asleep inside him. The storm grew wilder. Wind howled like a living beast, tearing through trees and cables. Water rose past the curbs, swirling with leaves, trash, and pieces of broken life. The young man pressed his forehead to the glass, watching the old man struggling outside. He was calling to something. A faint cry coming from under a collapsed fruit stand. Through the sheets of rain, a small shadow trembled. A soaked cat, its fur clinging to its thin body, eyes wide with terror. The old man waded forward, each step swallowed by the current. "Don't," the young man whispered to no one, as if afraid the wind might hear. One wrong step, and the old man could be swept away. Lightning flashed. For a heartbeat, everything froze in white light. The frail figure bent down, hands reaching toward the frightened animal. Then the thunder roared. The young man's chest tightened, a mixture of fear, disbelief, and something else he hadn't felt in years, a sting of compassion. He felt his heart beating again, stronger, louder, as if refusing to stay silent. The old man lifted the cat, cradling it inside his coat. Rain poured down his face, but there was a faint smile, not of victory, but of peace. For a moment, time seemed to stop. The young man could hear only his own breath and the soft mew of life rescued from the storm. Something broke inside him, not his despair, but the shell that had hidden his heart. And through that crack, a fragile light began to seep in. When morning came, the storm had weakened. The streets were quiet, heavy with the smell of wet dust and broken wood. The city looked wounded, trees torn down, windows shattered, and silence where the wind once screamed. The young man stepped outside for the first time in days. His shoes sank into puddles. His reflection trembled on the water's surface. Everywhere, people were cleaning, repairing, searching for what could be saved. But his eyes sought only one thing: that old man. At the corner where he had seen him last night, there stood a small cardboard box covered by a plastic sheet. Inside, the same cat curled up, dry and sleeping peacefully. Beside it, a folded raincoat and a bamboo stick leaned against the wall. The old man was nowhere to be seen. The young man felt his throat tighten. He didn't know what had happened, whether the old man had gone home or if the night had taken him. But what he did know was this: someone had cared enough to protect something helpless. He knelt down, gently touching the box. The cat stirred, opened its eyes, and looked straight at him. In that gaze, he saw something pure, the quiet echo of kindness that no storm could wash away. That day, he began to pick up fallen branches, helping his neighbors clear the street. He didn't say much, but when someone thanked him, he smiled, a small, hesitant smile, as if rediscovering how to be human again. That evening, the city glowed softly under a pale sky. The storm had passed, leaving puddles that mirrored the fading light. The young man stood once again by his window, the same place where he had once stared into hopelessness. But this time, something was different. On the opposite building's ledge, the small cat sat grooming its fur, a quiet survivor of the night. He smiled faintly, watching it stretch toward the sun. The air smelled of rain and renewal. Children's laughter echoed from below. Neighbors called to one another, helping fix what was broken. It was as if the city itself was breathing again. He looked up. The clouds had parted, revealing a single beam of light breaking through. In that moment, he understood something simple yet profound. Faith in people isn't found in speeches or promises, but in the quiet acts that ask for nothing in return. And as he stood there, he whispered softly to himself, "I believe again." Sometimes we lose faith not because the world is cruel, but because we forget that light often hides in small places. Tonight's story reminds us, even in the darkest storm, a single act of kindness can change the way we see everything. If this story touched your heart, take a slow breath and remember, there are still gentle souls around us. Thank you for listening. May you find warmth wherever you are. We'll meet again in the next story of hope and quiet strength.